I have an interesting journey with mental health as well, which has only really ramped up in the last few years, and it was all sparked from a story that I wrote. I did an investigation into, this is a trigger warning, sexual assault and harassment in the music industry. And I interviewed a bunch of women from the music industry, artists and industry people, who had gone through some of the most horrific things that you could ever think of happening. And they were, the trauma from that had affected every single part of their life. And some of them were completely shut out from the music industry because they spoke up. Some of them left the music industry because of what happened to them. And some of them were just trying to stay in the music industry but were losing their will to love music because of what happened. So I had multiple discussions with them, and I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not a counsellor, and I actually called Clive Miller from Support Act. And I said, I'm doing this story and I'm trying to tell the truth about what's happening with our artists in the music industry, and I don't know really what I'm doing in terms of helping them post the interview. You know, like I hit record, they tell me, they bleed in front of me, and then what? I can't just leave them. And so he said that they have this hotline, and that if they were comfortable, I could call up the hotline and give them a little bit of a precursor about this person and say, this is everything that's going on with her, this is her contact details, she's given me permission to talk to you about everything that's happened so that she doesn't have to re-traumatize herself by talking about it with you, but she does need aftercare. Then I thought, well, I'm getting this aftercare for all of these women, but I feel weird going to my circle and saying, yeah, that was really horrible for me, because it didn't happen to me, and it wasn't about me at all.
But it's like a secondary trauma.
But exactly, the secondary trauma thing, which I didn't really know about. So I thought, I better do some aftercare for myself. And I'd never done therapy before. And I thought, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do like 5 sessions. Like I'll just reach out to someone who works with a lot of people from the music industry. I had her recommended by another journalist from the music industry. And I was like, look, I'm just here for like a bit of aftercare to make sure that I don't get any, you know, trauma by proxy, essentially. And she was like, sure, no problem. And then I did those 5 sessions, and I was like, okay, but there's all this other stuff that about me that I haven't uncovered. And it was incredible. Like I started properly doing the work and properly learning about myself. And then after that, it was only like a couple of months later that something horrible happened in my marriage. And I went to her and I was like, I know that we talk about my job and I know that we talk about all this stuff, but I think my marriage is breaking down. This is what's happening. And I needed her so much, and she had so much context about me before that. So I felt so comfortable just going to her about that stuff. And she got me through the last year of my marriage before I decided to separate. And I don't think I could have done it without her.
Like when you're interviewing people and stuff, is there a point where you go, I can't push anymore, or I can't like?
It depends on it depends on the energy, right? So when I did the Tones and I cover feature, I went to her in Melbourne, and I was told, look, she's just not ready to talk about her childhood yet. Like maybe later at another stage. But then I sat in front of her and I said, well, let's, like, where did you grow up? And I just thought she would just say, I grew up in Mornington, in Melbourne, but went to school here. And she goes, Victoria. So I stopped and I said, hey Tones, I just want to say that I get your music, and I think that in a few years' time we're going to be talking about Australia's greatest pop exports, and it's going to be Kylie Minogue, and it's going to be Sia, and it's going to be you. And I know that there's a lot of people that don't get it in Australia, but I want you to know that I do get it. And she just broke down crying, and she was like, I don't understand why I'm getting more hate than Trump. So then she opened up, and I think it was because I stopped the interview and I just tried to communicate with her about the fact that I get it.
I feel like there'd be so many people that probably wouldn't though.
Yeah. No, they'd go, well, there's my gotcha journalism story. But then do you really have longevity in the industry if you do that? You know, who's going to want to sit with you and open up to you?
Actually, wait, what I did want to ask you about is I know you're sober.
So I quit for 2 years and then it was my wedding and I really wanted to get drunk at the wedding because I was like, this will be so fun.
Yeah.
So I had a drink at the wedding, but it was a weird journey because the music industry has all these free events.
Yes.
So like the alcohol is free, it's encouraged even.
Yeah.
And I think of artists too. I think of a lot of like how artists are sometimes paid with a case of beer and sometimes they're like paid with like a tab on the bar or whatever.
So
but
true.
I think like upcoming artists are really focused on their mental health as number one. They do want a long career and they probably are smart enough to know that you're not going to have longevity if you're wasted all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's work and
Yeah.
it's not a fucking party, this is your job.
So true.
And Support Act is really good at like really pushing the fact that that's not okay and that alcoholism is a problem within the music industry and it does lead to mental health issues. You were talking about Instagram and social media and stuff before, and there's such a curated view. Even my Instagram is like all these happy moments. I'm fucking going through a divorce right now. Like it's not, like behind the scenes, although we're being very loving and respectful to one another, like it's been really, really hard. But you know, I'm posting all these glorious photos of me on tours and in the beach and everything, and really I'm sitting there going, fuck, it's done. We're together 11 years and we had 9 years of just bliss. But during those 9 years of bliss, I put him on this pedestal where I was like, he's this angel who's come into my life. And when an angel does something wrong, you're surprised. But because I didn't humanize him, you know, I would come home every day and he'd be like, he's so sweet, and he'd be like, baby, you're home. How are you? How was your day? I'm so excited to see you. Oh, don't worry about that. Like, sit down, tell me about your day. And I would say, oh, this cool thing happened today. Like I had this moment in a meeting where people loved my idea or something, and he would be like, we are celebrating. He's like, we're going out to dinner, we're celebrating.
I love it.
And he taught me so much more too. He taught me joy and playfulness. You know, like there's things about him that I will try and steer away from in my next partner. But there's things about him that I need in my next partner. And that is why I don't hate him, and that is why I'm not so broken, because I would trade the 9 years, the 2 years of hell for the 9 years of bliss any day.
Really?
Yeah.